Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Friday, July 18th, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's choosing to join us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeannie Rice on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the two words that say Start Here in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet, and it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 20 years now to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships, and to turn any negative emotional experience I have into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again absolutely free. You can also download from that page a whole host of audio files that shows just like this one where people have been stepped through the worksheet process. And if you choose to listen to them even repeatedly, they can serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And if you do that before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you choose to tap on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet. It contains an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and it contains a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. We hope people do all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives. And secondarily, because it tends to prompt comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. And you might say those are the lifeblood of our radio show here. So if you have any of those to share with us, we'd appreciate you doing so. You can give us, you can send us an email. You can email me at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org. Or you can email Jeannie at jeanie@whyagain.org. That's whyagain.org. Or you can join us live. You can call in through the Zoom numbers. They make a whole host of numbers available for people. And once you call on the phone and the Zoom number that's appropriate, you can enter our meeting ID number, which is 853-2357-4173. That's 853-2357-4173. So you can call the Zoom number and enter that, or you can open up browser page on your internet browser and go to zoom.us and then type in that meeting ID number, 853-2357-4173. And we appreciate it greatly, pretty much beyond what words can express when people do that, because it dramatically increases the chances that the quality of this interaction will be such that people are going to want to listen to it again. They'll make it a highlight show, or they'll curate it out of the 14 plus years of internet show that we've been doing. Having begun this internet show back in January of 2011. And if you look at the highlight shows that have been curated out, that when people said, wow, that's a best of show, or I want to hear that again, almost all of them are the result of people just like you calling in and asking a question, or giving a testimonial, or asking for clarification about how to use the tools in one situation or another. And so if you would be so kind as to let us know how these things are landing for you, and or what you're finding most useful out of the various activities that we do on the internet show, we would appreciate it. So today is a Friday. We had our support group last night, and we done something we haven't done in quite a while. We listened to a sharing by David Whyte. David has a pattern he does where he'll come on, I think it's only 3 Sundays per month, and he offers this to people at what I think is quite a reasonable fee. And you get access to the live discussion that he does, but then you also get access to the digital download, so you can play it again later or whatever. And it really stirred things up for people. It's I had the urge to do that because of the timing of losing Andrea Gibson this past week, and having shared some of her poetry and some of David's poetry on the internet show, I thought, well, if people are up for it, we'll take a risk. And by a risk, I mean, I've learned the hard way that it isn't a good thing usually for me to play things on the internet show or in a support group that I haven't pre-screened, so I know whether they're too pedantic or whether they actually promote something that is not compatible with what we're trying to help ourselves learn and become familiar with here on Mind Shifters Radio and in the support groups. But it worked out, and people were pleasantly surprised, and it led to much conversation. So I recommend that to people. I recommend this English-Irish poet-philosopher. And he's got this real solid grounding of what his work is. He grounds it in the real life experience of being people wrestling with the real energies of thoughts and emotions and the pressures of life and the fleeting nature of so much of our lives. And one of the things that he says is that half of all human interactions are mitigated by loss and grief. And that simply because everything that begins in time ends in time, as the Way of Mastery tells us. And we, as a physical being, began in time. And that physical aspect of our being or our consciousness will fade away. And yet the essence of who you are lives through it, grows through it, moves on to other adventures. And he has a way of writing about that and the challenges of living with an awareness that while I have a physical body, that's not all that I am. And from that awareness, I wake up to realize, you know what, it would be really useful for me to be a good steward of my spiritual body as well as my physical body. And when I've listened to him, when I've read from his book, Consolations, when I've participated in listening to him have discussions with others, it's always resonated positively with me. And so that's just an offering. David Whyte, Whyte, English-Irish poet, philosopher, who listened to and we watched in the group last night. So what's on your mind? How can we support you? What's happening for you heading into the weekend? How is it sitting for you as we read these various question and answer sections from the book A Walk in the Physical by Christian Sundberg? And if nobody raises a hand or unmutes to speak up, we'll get back into that book. I was just thinking this morning about the one of the latest video posts I saw from Glennon Doyle, where she's calling for people to end the genocide of the Palestinians and to pay attention to what's going on over there. And it's a very simple video where she's just sitting directly, looking at the camera, talking directly to the camera, and encouraging us to wake up to the fact that America has been one of those empires that does colonizing, and that the land we're living on was stolen from the indigenous people with their own kind of genocide in our history. And she's just calling people to pay attention to the fact that if we can't begin by acknowledging that, then we can't work to do, compensation and healing and literally building a different kind of a culture, a different kind of a society that wouldn't allow that kind of violence, that kind of gluttonous consumption, etc. And the reason I'm mentioning it right now is because of the dynamic that happened. She just posted a video calling us to just wake up and help stop this violence against people, from one label of people against another label of people. And as I scrolled down through the comments after that happened, I was not surprised to find all kinds of venom and vitriol and telling her that she has no idea what she's talking about, et cetera, and that she's the problem and that people like her are so entitled. It goes on and on. And I just kind of scanned through a few of them and then, put the phone down and thought, well, that's what we do. So many people in our lives today or buying into what the culture, what the media, what the puppeteers would have us buy into. And we're ready to go to almost literal war with each other over words, over ideas, over thoughts. In the meantime, we're not really living into the life we've been given. We're not really living in this gratitude. We're not really extending the loving nature that we're capable of extending when we're distracted by these words and these arguments and these interactions based around some concept that we're going to figure out who's right and who's wrong. So the invitation in this work is to just step back and watch that that's what's happening. The invitation in this work is to question everything you think you know. Someone has unmuted.
So I'm Sally, and I I love Glennon Doyle. I love her directness. I love her clarity. I love her writing. I love her journey. And I'm not surprised, as disheartening as it is to say, to hear the response to her very clear cry for humanity to become a new humanity. what I have a question about is I'm very much involved in this work, and any work I can do to increase my capacity to teach and live love. And I don't always know how to be part of the solution when it seems so big. And, you know, she said to be part of or to work to, I can raise awareness, I can um, speak my truth in relations, you know, people that I come across. There's always this part of me that wants to do more. And I guess, you know, I just love her for posting. I don't do much social media. That's kind of like probably my tendency to enjoy being invisible. Um, a little bit of hiding by not engaging with that whole thing. But uh, thank you for sharing that. And maybe I'll send her an email or something because with all the vitriol, she deserves to hear from people like us who love and support her and applaud her willingness to stand for what she believes. I guess that's
Well,
all I.
okay, and I appreciate the offering. Thank you. And one of the things that you said there is that you always want you not always, but you frequently have this desire to do more. And what is at the heart of this teaching is that just going inside yourself and removing the
Mhm.
root causes of your own upset, your own fear, your own anger, your own hurt, your own confusion, that is beyond words big. That means you're staying home, so to speak. You're keeping your awareness, your focus of attention at home in you, where you have the dominion, where you have the ability to change your own belief system, your own thoughts, your own life experience, your own focus of awareness, etc. And it's amazing that we've been conditioned to think that's no big deal. Yeah, I
It's
can do
that
that. I
exact.
could do worksheets and I could dismantle some anger and but but I really want to do something important. There there's a certain way in these teachings that we present. There's a certain way of spinning that kaleidoscopic wheel of interpretation that says, you know what, there is nothing more important you can do. You've probably heard me quote Abraham, or Abraham says, your most important creation in every moment is your emotion in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
What are you pouring out there into the energy field around you? What are you affirming by attending to it?
Mm-hmm.
What are you creating as real for you by believing that it's real or important? If you can wake up to that, if you can change the actual energetic energy flow emanating from you, that's the most you can do. And there are other
Thank
things that might have some impact at the physical level. As I'm saying, if you're Richard Branson and you're listening to this and you've got billions of dollars, or if you're Bill Gates and you're working at, dismantling your fortune and making sure that you make more uh, charity donations and you want to go ahead. There might be some things you could do from a physical, financial, logistics perspective if you have those kinds of resources. And most of us don't have those kinds of resources, and we can all do this one particular type of work. We can
mm-hmm.
go inside ourselves, we can see the false nature of anything that's less than love, and we can choose to pour our mind energy into the antidote to something that's less than love, which is the essence of our true nature. And it it's fascinating how many times I run into people who think, yeah, but I really want to do something important, something there. I don't know how to say it any more clearly. There's nothing more important you can do than choose for love over fear in each new present moment. And
Thank
then
you.
once you've done that, let your actions flow from that. Let your actions flow from the intuition and the insight and the inspiration that you invite when you do that.
Thank you. Perfect. You nailed it when you said I had been conditioned to believe that my own internal work is small and somewhat meaningless
Yes,
because I grew up with people that were politically engaged and, like always doing. And so I, and that is a big shift for me to recognize the work I'm doing is it's creating in me the ability to choose love in all my life circumstances more and more. And that is enough.
that's enormous. Yes.
Thank you.
And so, like perhaps the best thing to do in response to maybe you stumbled across the Glennon Doyle video or you heard someone like me talk about it, and then all of a sudden you've got this energy bubbling up in you, this urge to do more, this restlessness, this dissatisfaction. In that moment, the most important thing you can do might be take a breath, go into a quick meditation, do a round of EFT tapping, do a worksheet on the emotional state that you're generating that you're not sure how. And then watch how your day unfolds differently. Because in that moment, you're choosing for this calm, loving, present awareness, you're choosing for that over the fear, over the
Yeah,
disruption, over the disturbance, over the sense of I'm inadequate, or the problem is too big and I can't do anything about it.
right. Got it. This is so powerful and so helpful and so useful. I met with a girlfriend that I sang with for almost 30 years, and we haven't been directly in contact for the last 2 years. And we're both kind of hyperachievers and, you know, pleasers and perfectionist type people, according to some of the saboteurs that I've recognized recently. But she and I have made different choices. And I heard her at lunch complaining about the church and the politics and the Cleveland Clinic. And I mean, it was one thing after another that wasn't working for her. And she is a doer. She is a, like, if she sees what needs to be done, she'll get in there. And well, the only thing I could say to her was to introduce her to your work and to your radio show and to say, I've been enjoying this amazing oxygen every day at noon, and I'll share it with you. And so we'll see what her choices are with that and other things I shared with her. But I felt like I was just a pollinator. Like my role wasn't to teach or preach or go into any kind of a comparison in any way, shape, or form because I love her. Um, it was to share the things that I've been finding helpful. So it does it is immensely clear when people use these tools and when people don't have access to tools, they resort to the cultural soup that I call tribal consciousness.
What consciousness?
Tribal.
Tribal. Okay.
It's kind of like the mass mindset, the prevailing tribe. You know, I look at it like a soup.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
always, go ahead.
It's that kind of a self-maintaining system, right? It's a system where enough minds get together and they promote a thought field, and then people buy into it and it gets stronger, and then people start to believe that that's the only possible or the only valid thought um, assessment or structure of thought or belief about how things work. And so they buy into it lock, stock, and barrel, and they never question it again. You know, how could this be wrong? Everybody else is doing it, kind of thing. Well, it can be wrong because life is a whole lot more flexible and complex than what our five senses are letting us have access to. So my brain right there in the silence just flooded with 4 or 5 different directions I could go. Um, and then I got screened and said, no, this person, you shouldn't put this person's name out there. You shouldn't say that about that. So I just that's what that pause was about. It is something of, uh, I would say it's been my biggest challenge to question everything I've been taught. And it was quite the rude awakening to wake up one day and realize, you know what? I lived my life thinking I would grow up someday to be one of those adults who knows what's going on in the world and what the world needs and how to make it run better. And it was quite a shock to my system to wake up and realize there are no adults like that on this planet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I used to have a sign in my first office that said, question everything and grace will set you free. And I had the sign mostly for me.
And we desperately need to learn whatever we're best at teaching.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Amen. I hear somebody else, maybe not.
Yes, it's me.
Hi, you.
Celinda, I just wondered if I might join the conversation.
Well, you might. Do you have the price of admission?
Of course.
It's willingness. That's all it takes.
Yep.
Unmute and speak up.
Cool. Okay, I'm unmuted and I'm speaking up. I keep going back to the blessings and Pierre Pradervand and the gentleman in Texas who's in prison.
Roger McGowan.
Thank you. It just ran out of my brain. I don't worry about it. I figure it's something that's falling out of my file folders. But anyway, I just wanted to share that 365 Days of Blessings book he has, because he goes into blessing all of these kinds of things. And I just realized how powerful that has been for me to try to practice that. And I think I'm going to go back and intensify my effort on that. I think there's a time to call our senators and our representatives. I think there is a time to go ahead if we have the financial resources. And, you know, it's really amazing. Even I was reading once that the lower income citizens in the U.S. actually give more percentage of their income as a general rule based on per capita than all of the wealthy in the country. That percentage-wise, they give much more. So each one of us can look at our budgets and say, is this really the best use of my monies? And so I share that because every now and then I give to, when I can, I give to Michael Rice's support. I give to cultural survival support, which is totally run by indigenous groups. And the Earth Watch, the one about the people who witness throughout the world civil rights violations. So there are things we can do in that department. I give to Trees for the Future because they're doing incredible work, and the only reason they aren't doing work here in the U.S. is because we know too much, and we think we know too much, and we're not going to go there for regenerative agriculture, even though we are individual by individual. So I just wanted to share all that. I think you're right on about realizing we don't know anything, Dr. Tim. I think you're right on about doing the inner work. Sally, you've mentioned the inner work that you mentioned to your friend. It's a hard sell, ladies and gentlemen. But if I keep selling it, I'll keep doing it. So I can't keep saying that it's inner work without it having an effect on me too. And I am doing my inner work. We all find our own way to it. And just blessing and having it all be okay. It's as it is, and it's perfect, as Byron Katie says. And why is it perfect? Because it's happening. We will get through this. It's the old 12-step thing of it takes what it takes. And so we just bless. That's what I'm doing my best at.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I've had occasion probably 3 times in the past couple of weeks to send the link to the Pierre Pradervand interview to different people. And it's generally pretty well received, in terms of a concept. And then it's up to each of us to decide how much of it we're actually going to practice. I had a session with somebody last night, and she was just at wit's end about different things going on in her life. And she said, "What would you recommend?" And I said, "Well, I know that you have the heart math device that you can clip on your earlobe and put on the app on your phone and spend 10 or 15 minutes just coordinating your breathing with loving energy and visualizing it going through your heart space. I have to strongly recommend that you start doing that 4 or 5 times a day because of the high stress situation you're in." And she'd completely forgotten about it. I mean, this is a person who purchased the device and used it and really liked it and thought it, had wonderful benefits for her. And yet, like most of us, when we drift away from using those things, out of sight, out of mind. And then her stress level goes through the roof and all kinds of life events requiring her to make adjustments. And she completely forgets this tool that she has access to that has worked for her in the past, that is, something that doesn't require any additional funds. She's already paid for it and has it in her possession. So that's why I advocate for people to be doing a little bit of something in terms of their mental, emotional health every day. I remember years ago, a lot of years now, 20 some years ago, when I first got tuned into Dr. Michael Rice, and he started talking about tithing. And tithing in terms of this spiritual practice, not about pumping money into your church pastor or any particular endeavor, but as this spiritual practice of making the determination for yourself that you're going to spend 10% of your time, intelligence, money, and energy on things that help you grow spiritually. And so when he started talking about that, I thought, well, the only thing I've ever heard is, when you're tithing I was raised in the Catholic faith, and it was literally, they required you to let them know what your yearly income was, and they expected you to give 10% of your yearly income to the church, and that was tithing. And here's Michael with this idea that says, wait a minute, there's a deep spiritual truth embedded in this concept of the 10% tithing, but it's not just about money. It's about energy flow. It's about focus. It's about commitment. And so if you decide that you're going to take advantage of this powerful spiritual tool, which is tithing, then you just decide where you're going to spend 10% of your time, intelligence, money, and energy. That's the acronym for time. Time. An acronym for time, intelligence, money, and energy. And you get to decide what you're going to do with 10% of your time, intelligence, money, and energy. So you pour it into something that feeds you spiritually. So if you decide you're going to do that, it makes sense. I'm going to play around with this idea. There's, it's thousands of years old, the idea that tithing is a productive practice. If you decide to play around with that, then you get to decide what are you going to do with if you're 24 hours in the day, 10% of that is 2.4 hours. So you get to decide what are you going to do with 2.4 of your own hours. In a way that feeds your own spiritual growth and that gives back to whatever supports you in your spiritual growth. So if it's Dr. Michael Ryce and Jeannie and their internet show and their massive website and the archives they maintain, if that feeds you and supports you, you might consider spending a portion of your time, intelligence, money, and energy donating back to that, or offering your services. Like they were talking about the two people recently that have been helping convert files and put them on YouTube. And if you have an expertise like that, you might be moved to contact Jeannie and volunteer your services or some finances or some resources that you have that aren't just money or your own time. But if you're doing it in this conscious way where you're saying, I'm going to actively move away from complaining about things. I'm going to take the energy that I would normally use for complaining from my thoughts and my speech and my behavior, and I'm going to redirect that into something more positive, something that feeds me and nurtures me, whether it's meditation or whether it's helping somebody else or whether it's donating to a cause. And I'm going to keep track of that at a conscious level. I'm going to actively focus to do more of those kinds of things until I get a demonstration that it's not helping. And as long as I get feedback that it's helping, I'm just going to keep doing it and do more of it. I'm going to be actively moving my life in a direction that I prefer. And in that, as Michael Ryce has said in recent days, there was some kind of a discussion about selfish versus self-wise. I'm not being selfish if I'm doing what actually nurtures me and helps me enjoy and appreciate this gift of life, because we're all connected. So it's just self-wise, it's not selfish, and it's not something that I'm doing to the exclusion of anybody else's benefit. As a matter of fact, the more I change these energies of thoughts and emotions that I'm giving back to the field, the more I change them to more loving, accepting, gratitude-based, appreciative, calm, contented energies, the more I'm gifting all of that positivity and productivity to the field, to the energetic field, that in which we live, move, and have our being. So the call of this work is to be more intentional. The call of this work is to be more conscious. And if there's anything we can do to support you in doing that, please let us know.
I would like to share one more thought.
Go ahead.
When I was reading the Old Testament a lot, I ran across a passage of something about choose blessing or cursing, something along those lines. And maybe I just connected that with the choice in the Garden of Eden between the tree of love, the fruit of the tree of the love, and the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is a tree of death. And I've come to realize that in another passage, one of the Joshua, I think it was, has said, choose ye this day life or death, as for me and my family, we shall choose life. And I realized that anything that is not a blessing is a curse. And negativity is a curse, not because it's a wrong, because it was given to us as a warning system, according to what I've learned from this teaching that you're offering. But it's like doing arithmetic. It's left brain phenomenon that a minus sign subtracts and a plus sign adds. And I thought, it doesn't have to deal, unless we choose to see it that way, about wrong or right at all. It's more like, if it's negative, I'm finding that it's subtracting from my life. If it's positive, I find that it is adding to my life. And I just thought about that. If I let myself remember when some complaining comes out of my mouth, oh, you're cursing. Or another way of putting it is that you just said a negative prayer. You just said a negative prayer. And in that process, cut yourself off from all the creativity that you have access to, except your own little 9-bit brain.
Well, the only adjustment I would make to that is you can't ever cut yourself off from the creativity that you're a part of, or the creation you're part of. What you're doing when you choose for a negative thought or a curse or whatever is that you're using that creative force to create more of what you say you don't want. You are actually creating all the time. And the core of this teaching is that most people, us included, who are talking and listening on this show, most of us are creating unconsciously. We are so into the habit of complaining that we aren't even realizing that what we're doing as we complain is creating more of the negative field that we say we don't want.
I think I shall reflect on that, because what's fascinating by what you just said is that I am creating separation between me and my creator and my essence.
You're creating the illusion of separation.
There you go. I'm creating the illusion of separation. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. That's really important. I shall reflect on that some more. I like that. And you said it before, but it doesn't percolate down to the body level until we hear it again and again and again, and something connects down there, at least for me. So thank you. I appreciate that.
You're most welcome and deserving. I've been struck lately by how often I'm hearing about meditation and discussions about meditation. There was even a Q&A from the book A Walk in the Physical where he talked about the meditation. And noticing, in my own life how easy it is to get away from that. Noticing how quickly I feel the benefits when I engage in it, and how easy it is for me to hit a smooth patch and decide I don't need to keep doing that. Right? If I'm only doing my breath techniques or my EFT tapping or my other work when I'm upset, and I get into that habit, something unpleasant happened, I should do a worksheet or do some tapping or whatever. That's good. And yet if I only do it when I'm triggered to an upset, that what I set up is this pattern of forgetting about the tools when things are going smoothly. So instead of making it a routine part of every day, I isolate it and put it in a compartment in my mind that says, only think about this when there's stress or tension or anger or fear up. I know I have somebody that has turned me on to the book Judgment Detox by Gabrielle Bernstein. And the subtitle is Release the Beliefs That Hold You Back from Living a Better Life. And in the very beginning of the book, Gabrielle is talking about the tools that she's going to introduce and recommends that people use. And lo and behold, one of them is the EFT tapping. And so there's so much overlap. What made me think about that is that so many people, when I introduce the EFT tapping to them, when they're stuck in something or they're in a session and we do some tapping and it works, they have this tremendous excitement. That was fabulous. I can't believe how well that worked. I'm going to do that again if I get upset again. And I keep trying to tell them, listen, the time to learn how to shoot the bow and arrow is not when the bear is charging you. Please don't wait until the next time you get upset. If somebody introduces you to a worksheet or a breath process or an EFT tapping or a meditation and it has benefit for you, you would do well. It would probably provide ongoing positive effects for you if you incorporate it into your daily routine. If you create a new routine that incorporates that and you make your conscious practice daily that awareness that you're creating your experience of life. And the earliest warning signs you can tap into about tightness or tension or fear or grief or anger and irritability, and use the tools to do the inner deep dive, explore, go spelunking in the caves of your own unconscious for what process within you is actually giving rise to the upset that's up in the moment. And just say, this life I'm living is worth it, and I'm going to spend a significant proportion of each day doing what I can within me to make my experience of life better. Whether that's listening to archives of an internet show like this, or it's doing your own meditation practice in conjunction with the exercise routine that helps you keep the body fluid and fit. Whatever that thing is, incorporate some level of inner tool along with, I got to drink clean water and get some good sleep and make sure I'm putting healthy food in my system. It's it's amazing to me how much better my life gets when I'm willing to just incorporate this stuff day after day after day after day and take one closer and closer to 100% responsibility for whatever emotion I generate in the moment. And one of the benefits I get that just kind of keeps bubbling up and seeping through other things is the benefit I get when I keep reciting the forgiveness pattern, which begins with, I cancel my need to be right. I cancel any thought or need within me for anyone or anything to change, including myself. I cancel any guilt thoughts, any fear thoughts, any anger thoughts that I might be pouring my mind energy into that are resulting in a tightness and a tension and an upset that I don't really enjoy. And with that practice of reciting that mantra, chanting it, if you will, going to it frequently throughout the day, it's resulted in a softening. It's resulted in an opening. I hope you see I'm struggling for the words to describe the shift. It's changed my interaction template, my graphic user interface, if you will, with life. Because I'm going into life asking to be taught moment to moment, rather than angrily trying to demand that life shape itself around me. That's part of why I recited the poem yesterday or the day before, Working Together by David Whyte, because we are shaped by unseen forces as they are shaped by us, and everything is an interactive experience. Even when we're not consciously aware of it, we're still there, we're still in the mix, we're still contributing and getting contributions from the flow of energy in, through, as, and around us, this thing that we call life. Going to be interesting when I listen back to this to figure out, what did I just say? Did he go way off on tangent? Was there a question in there? I don't know. I don't know, but I guess I should just cancel my need to be right and know the truth about that and just move on.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Softening and breathing.
Mhm.
So, comments, thoughts, questions from either of you or anybody else who's listening in who hasn't spoken up yet today? We've got about 5 minutes left before we wrap up this hour and clear the airwaves for Michael and Jeannie.
Hey, this is
I'll just
Cammy.
say that you can go on a tangent like that. Oh, Tammy. Hi, Cammy.
Hi, you can go ahead.
I was just saying to Tim, you can go on a tangent like that any day. That was great. Thank you so much. And I'm complete.
All right. What's up for you, Cammy?
Um, so I've been thinking a lot about that personal purpose. Um, the beginning of the show you guys were talking about, I believe it was Sally that was talking about it.
Talking about what again?
About our purpose when you were talking about like how important what we're doing is. And Michael has that purpose worksheet.
Yeah, purpose, personal power, and commitment. The secondary purpose.
Yeah. And I was
You went mute, Kemi.
Sorry. I scrolled over to see your face and that unmuted me. Um, talking about that, and I've struggled with that purpose because I've been like, my only purpose is to be love and to heal the generations, heal myself, and excuse me, and hopefully raise the consciousness even just a smidge in the universe. And the conversation that I was having with him this morning was about
You were having a conversation with who?
Michael, was about doing that. I've had problems with that worksheet, but we were talking about more specific in that purpose because I feel like that is my primary purpose, but I wasn't specifying like what that looks like. What kind of traits and what kind of qualities do I need to have
No,
to
no, no, no,
be
no,
able?
no, 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 not what you need to have. How do you use what you've already got in service of a goal of your choosing, a goal that's in alignment with helping the world become this perfect place through your eyes?
Right. So when the part of the worksheet that is about the things that I enjoy doing, do I enjoy being in pain? No, I enjoy joy. I enjoy giving to others. I enjoy holding a space of love for others while they process. Um, I was actually like, my mind was stuck in that on things I enjoy. Like, I enjoy going on float trips, or I enjoy scuba diving. I, and it was like, it just brought it to me in a way that it's like, it is all within me. It's not my purpose and the work that we've already done and how important it is. It's I don't know if that's helpful at all, but it
Well,
was
well,
just really
I need to ask clarification. Are you saying that you're still struggling with that worksheet even after your conversation with Michael, or are you saying that you reached some clarity through your conversation with Michael that you're trying to communicate here?
yes, that I reached clarity in that I was making it this big whole like global purpose instead of actually qualifying how I will do that, specifically how I will reach that goal. And that was the clarity for me that has released the struggle on that I was having. Because I've always struggled. Well, I didn't struggle with it, I think, until retirement. And then after retirement, I was really struggling with it. And it just opened the space for me to go, oh, yes, these things are all right here. And clarifying it and then doing my commitment to myself, or to myself and to others in my words. And apparently I didn't communicate that very well, and maybe I still didn't,
Well,
because I feel like I
I
said the same thing.
okay, but now that we've cleared it up, you're just saying that you did get some clarification in the conversation with Michael, and
Yeah.
as long as you're using the things that you already possess, your traits, your skills, your strengths and weaknesses, and your passions, and you're using them in a way that helps you feel like you're contributing to the world being a better place, you're on target. And the more you keep working with that tool, the more it will get refined for you through this actual practice.
Right. I just wanted to share that because somebody was sharing that earlier and you were talking about how much we've already done. I thought that it might be helpful.
Okay.
It wasn't because I was struggling.
No, it was helpful. Relax.
Okay.
Breathe, soften. Every contribution is helpful. So you've taken us to the end of our time. Thank you so much for that,
Yep.
and being willing to share. I will remind us all that we come from love. We're made of this stuff that we call love.